was a good catch. Except they should all have teams on them.
Well, I don't know about-
So this 27th, that's a Saturday.
Yeah. Cool. August 27th.
Yes, it's Saturday.
Perfect. And these are pauses, right?
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the Nipissing Township Museum board meeting. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Would somebody like to accept the agenda? Ian, okay.
Is there a seconder?
Your seconder?
Yeah, Chris.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Do you need the agenda?
Yes, I do. I found it, sorry. Okay,
Excellent.
yes, that's just a plain name.
Oh.
Would somebody like to accept the previous minutes? Just say your name so Greg can hear you.
Chris.
All right, thanks.
Steve,
And Steve.
Thank you.
So we will start with going over the finances. I think Chris has given us all,
Brenda doesn't have a copy because she's not here.
Okay.
I just finished it before I got
all
here.
right, very good. Okay. Sorry. Okay, if we want to roughly review it, is there anything that sticks out, Chris, that you've noticed that we should be keeping an eye on?
The expenses, I have a few that aren't going to be in here yet. They're ready to run for the council
Okay.
meeting. So, but all of the revenues up to date are.
Okay, and anything that you were concerned about,
No.
we're over on?
No.
What would the office supplies you've gotten so far?
Well, you've got your OMA membership.
Oh, that's it.
Toner. Printer.
A new printer?
Yeah.
Okay,
we're still going.
yes,
Yeah, there's nothing of concern.
okay. All right, so okay, does anybody have any questions on the budget? No? Okay then. We will move on to our next agenda item. Which is the manager's report. So I'll let you go ahead, Jillian.
Well, you guys have already got the revenue on there, so we'll skip that part. So for visitor statistics, we've had, for June, we had 130 people, which brings our total to date up to 220 people, sorry, 222 people through the museum. About 130 were just for the candy store, 78 for both candy store and museum, and 13 that were just for the museum.
Okay.
For collections progress this year, the students have been doing an inventory of the storage room artifacts. So looking for items to switch out in the displays, to use for posts on social media, and so that we can update the location information in the catalog. And then I've also been just starting to pick up the cataloging in the church where it was left off last year. I mentioned a donation or a few donations that were offered last meeting. Unfortunately, not everyone had a chance to look over that, so I brought that document again with me. If anyone has any concerns or comments, if not, I will be just to accept the donation.
You said this is the word donation?
Yep.
Did everybody agree that we should take those donations?
I'm not sure that we reached an agreement last meeting. It was
Yes.
sort of
Yeah, I know, we talked about it, I think we all liked it, but we didn't really make a motion for Jillian to go ahead and contact her.
For all of this stuff.
It all seems fairly relevant to our area.
Do we have space to accept this? Like,
I've asked Jillian that, and she said, yes.
I mean, we can move things around, and there's a number of things that should probably get these instead, things that aren't of historical significance. And yeah, it'll just be moving things around a little bit. And
So would somebody like to make a motion to accept the Moore family? Okay. Can you hear us, Brenda?
Just, who made the motion?
Steve and Mary.
Okay, thank you.
so there's a few other items, and I was there's the Clark family photograph and painting, and sort of that. I was wondering if we could make a date for a few different things to update museum policies and the mandate. And I know we don't have time to talk about those things today, but or to come up with a policy today, but we can make a date to do that, and there are a few other things that I was wondering about as well. We can save that to the end, I can mention again, but because the Clark family is more related to Powassan, that will kind of fall under that umbrella, whereas this is all, the first donation is all very related to Nipissing Township.
So what exactly are you asking for?
So the mandate for the museum is to collect items from Nipissing Township and surrounding area. The surrounding area is a little bit vague. Because Clark House in Powassan has closed, it means that we have a fair number of their artifacts.
Yes.
So changing the mandate would really just specify for whoever ends up as the manager, how far afield should they be collecting artifacts? How far is the surrounding area? Can we set sort of specific areas?
The only thing with that is I think that right now we have said that it would be a board decision on what we accept. So the board, I'm not sure that we need to have that. If the board is going to continue to make the decision on whether they feel it's relevant or not.
Okay.
Like there may be a doctor that lived in, let's say Argyle, but he worked here, something like that could happen. So that's my feeling anyway. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Okay, so just whatever it is, no matter how far, it can be referred to board.
We have that already in place, and it is to be referred to the board before we take it.
Okay.
Where is that?
Whereas what?
The reference to the board.
It's in one of the meetings, I believe, in one of the meetings that we had, how many years ago did we do that?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
because I
it's
haven't
in-
seen it, that's why.
Yeah, no, you probably
Yeah.
haven't.
It's stuff like that that should be pulled out and put on a separate,
Yeah,
and put
yeah.
in, and
We
put
do
in
need
a thing
something
for
like
new
that.
board members.
I know we have a procedure that has the
Yes,
Pardon me?
mandate and some.
yes, we do need a
Yeah.
procedures manual.
Like there should-
So if that's what you're talking about, doing something like that, absolutely, yes. And you could, as you're putting it together, Jillian, you could ask the board members at every meeting what needs to be included, what doesn't, or what your suggestions are.
Okay.
Does that sound like an idea?
and
Yeah,
if you get bigger documents, whatever, feel free to email them over before the meeting, so I
Yes.
have time to review.
So does that mean, are folks prepared to make a decision on the Richard Caldwell donation, which is Clark family photograph and painting of original log cabin in Boston? Haven't seen photographs.
You haven't seen any yet? No.
I was
Has he contacted us further since the original email?
not since the original email.
Okay, well, I think that we should wait until we hear from him again.
Should I contact and inquire about photographs?
What do you think, Mary? You would know more about that stuff than we would.
Say again, what?
It's W.F. Clark's grandson. And
Yes.
he has some Clark family photographs and a painting of the original log cabin that they had built in Boston.
Mhm. Probably. Oh, no. Nothing really to do with Nipissing, but
I don't know, about photographs.
maybe the painting, just because it's not relevant to Nipissing, but it's still relevant to.
You could,
In the photographs, I'm not sure that.
Wasn't the barbers, like Clark Barber and Jim Barber, what's their mother, Clark?
That's got nothing to do with these guys.
well, maybe then ask for pictures and we'll take a look at it and then we can decide. Does that sound?
That makes sense. The original cabin would have been about where the OPP is on the side, on the
Oh, okay.
side street there, right, Clark?
They are, I know Powassan doesn't have a museum, but they do have like 250 Clark houses. That may be something that they might be interested in hanging in one of their hallways.
Yeah,
Should we redirect him instead?
it's a good idea. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
That'd be a really good idea.
And then you could mention if they aren't interested, we would take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I think I cut you off there, but me and Clark. Barbara.
I think Clark's mother was it, not Clark's, no, Clark's dad's mother was a, Clark Barber's dad's mother was a Clark. Now, I don't know.
Different Clark family.
Different Clark.
That was the Clark family, Russell Clark lived here, he got to see just, heck am I here? Over, just back around the school there,
Oh, okay.
Russell Clark lived there, and he's from that family.
Oh, okay.
He worked for my father for a lot of years in Powassan.
All right.
Yeah, that's a different Clark family.
Because I was always wondering about that because I know a little bit of the Barber history because I jumped around with Clark and Jim and those guys most of my life. I always thought that was when you mentioned that his father's mother was a Clark, I thought he meant.
Yeah, not them.
Yeah, okay.
A small area.
It is, you never know, yeah.
It's not hard to make believe.
No, no.
Wasn't Smith.
And more apt to be than not to be.
Well, yeah.
Well, people think I'm related to the Moors too, so when I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, and you're in Nipissing too,
Yeah, I
and
know,
there was
I
Moors
know.
for a lot of years.
Okay, continue on, Flora.
Okay. So that's it for.
It's Brenda. Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Just for clarification. So the Clark family donation, we're going to redirect it possibly to 250 Clark then?
Yes, we're going to suggest that they see if 250 Clark would like some of their artifacts.
Okay, so that's the resolution. Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to be clear. Thanks.
Okay.
So we've also at the meeting started doing some programming. We had a school or a class from the South Shore School come forward to run some activities. And I got some really good feedback about what they would be interested in seeing if they were to come back again. So we'll be developing more programs for the fall, particularly to do with the social sciences curriculum.
What did you show them, Jillian? Like, what did they?
Well, they did a tour of the church, the hardware store, gardens. I had a scavenger hunt. So all the answers were available in the exhibits in the museum, and sort of were part of the tour that I'd given them. And then we had some mystery artifacts, and they sort of had to try and figure out what they are, what kind of materials they were made of, sort of some of the information that we would normally put in our curatorial reports when we're cataloging. And then their teacher very kindly bought them frozen yogurt. So that took up a good, I think she said it was a normal sort of class block.
Okay.
So that worked out really, really well.
And they're looking for something in the social sciences for next year? And you're working on that? Okay.
So for the store, and this is another thing where I'm wondering if we could set a date to develop a criteria for what merchandise should be sold in store. We have had a number of folks, both local and a little bit further afield, asking if we would be interested in selling CDs, their books, their cards in the store. And I seem to remember last year we tried to put a hold on that until we developed a criteria. So that would be good if we could do that.
You think we have the room? I think that was the issue in the past.
My understanding from last year was that some people are, because like when it comes to the museum, we sort of generally would like to keep it in keeping with the township, being related to the township. And so it was more sort of, how do you decide that we sell this person's merchandise and not this person's without offending anybody? So
Jillian, just to interrupt it, Brenda, yeah, I'm a big proponent of that because I don't want as a museum to be seen that we are favoring one group or one person over somebody else. And it has to be based on set criteria. That's my opinion. Anyway.
Does everybody else think about it?
So basically, anything has to be somebody from the township? Is that where
Well,
we're going with this?
Suppose we had 20 people from the township and they all
Yeah,
want to put their,
that
we
might
don't
be a
have the
little-
space, so how
yeah.
do we choose without offending somebody else?
So we just don't.
That's why we haven't.
we're sort of unfortunately kind of running out of merchandise that people would like to buy that isn't candy, and that is a limited customer base.
But what you could do is ask the people that would be interested is to give us flyers up there.
I have a list.
Well, they need to give us some kind of advertising for it. We have our little bulletin board on the, at the outside of the museum, and that's what they could advertise.
So just instead of selling the merchandise, and then it can advertise.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah. Like how much room would we have for their merchandise?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of room there.
We barely have enough room for
Yeah,
our own.
and then
Maybe for one person. but
Yeah, and
you
then
can't
when
do that.
we collect silent auction donations, there's almost no room to display it until the day of, so. I just don't think we have the room, Jillian, but certainly we would like to promote them by the use of the bulletin board outside.
That would be probably the path forward that you can tell anybody.
We just don't have the space.
So next thing is events. We had the Ride for Dads folks come through the museum. It was their second stop on June 18th. So there were about 62 people who came in and got their card stamped. So that was kind of fun.
So you consider that a success?
Well, there were some issues with plumbing which disrupted everything. Those have now been fixed. Those are part of, if you notice them, actually, I don't think it's on the maintenance or structural other budget. But that will probably be in.
Is it a pop that we need?
The toilet was replaced, the gas was replaced, and the septic.
So it hadn't been pumped.
Yes, it had, there were issues. Had been pumped, but there were other issues.
Oh,
It's been dealt with.
So unfortunately, that kind of disrupted things, which is too bad. But for the most part, yes, it was good.
they've been here before and they never caused us problems, so I
No, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't their
This
fault. It
one's
was
all right.
awful timing, okay?
And we did offer alternate places for them to go if they.
Yeah.
We had the office and the rink shop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's always the rink shack and lots of parking too. So.
So the next few things I think are already on the agenda, they're all in place and,
I have a question.
yeah.
So you said 62 for the right of that. Is that included in your 222 total?
Yes. No, sorry. No, it's not. It was a special event. We only counted the people who actually purchased candy. Sorry. Yeah, no, it was not the people who just stopped by to get their cards stamped separately. So, July 2nd, Canada Day celebration. Museum and candy store were open from plan until 8:30 p.m. and we actually had a steady stream of people, not all the time, but it was relatively steady and spaced out throughout the day. And we had 38 people in total come to the museum for tours and for candy. That was included in our visitor stats. And there was a small rush just before we closed it. We also had a display set up in the Heritage Park with history objects. So there's an activity sheet people could fill in. And anyone who filled in and then got entered in a prize to, or in a draw to get one prize at the end of the season. So that was a great tool to the Fall Festival. Had a donation offered for that. I figured we need to fill in a month of candy, whatever the board would like. Event.
I must say, great job on that, Jillian. It was well received over there.
The artifact.
Yeah, we had 17, in that day alone, we had 17 activity sheets filled in and submitted in the drop box. So some families worked together, some did their own sheets. Yeah, so in terms of what worked well and what worked didn't, so the activity sheets worked well. Keeping the candy store open late did mean that we get more visitors, even if it wasn't a huge rush. So for next year, so this year I was in the store alone until 2 p.m. and unfortunately I didn't realize I would have so many visitors in the morning, so I got a little behind on the prep. So next year I'd like to have a volunteer come in the morning and sort of just be able to help whatever staff members there to sort of set everything up. But otherwise, 3 people, 1 for sales, 1 for tours, 1 for activity at the park was plenty. And then having a volunteer who's able to step in and cover breaks. Thank you, Stephen. For 12. Other suggestions that we came up was to have separate activities for the younger kids and the adults. I guess the history objects, it was mostly families with younger children that were more interested, and some of the older visitors at the park were a little bit disappointed that it wasn't more competitive. So maybe doing 2 separate activities next year. And maybe having a small draw prize that would get given away at the end of the night as opposed to waiting until the end of the season, might encourage more people to do it, even if it's just a small prize. And the candy floss machine. So the candy floss was very difficult to operate in the windy weather. A package of these small coins, and it was given for a donation. So that was just set up with mystery objects. There's also an extra problem. It worked fine at the rake shack. When I plugged it into the outlet behind the museum, it kept tripping the fuse. So we'll have to find an alternate outlet if we are going to use it at the museum.
We are having an outlet put in the gazebo though, right? We budgeted for that this year, so maybe look at the strength that we need for that.
Well, if it's a single outlet, it just depends on, are we gonna put it straight to a breaker, like, or are we gonna share a breaker with something else in the building?
Yeah,
That's the kicker right there.
yeah.
Because I'm sure that a 15 or 20 amp breaker would be lots.
So why didn't it work this year?
Windy.
No, but it did work other years.
The candy floss machine?
Oh, it works. She's saying that it kept tripping the breaker.
Yeah, we couldn't get it to a high enough temperature. It would trip it. But it wasn't consistent. I had practiced 2 days, like 2 different weeks prior for 20 minutes, and it was fine. And then the day of, it kept tripping the breaker.
But there's probably more stuff being used the day of.
But there wasn't. I was at the museum. There, like,
It could be
Was
that
there was nothing
breaker.
going on at
Remember in
that
the
time.
past, we've had trouble with that breaker and that tripping stuff. And that's why we moved the hot trays to the
Yeah,
front.
that's the one on the backside of the
Yeah,
museum.
Yeah, we have had trouble with that, so,
Well, if we're gonna run a wire to the gazebo, why don't we run like a 20 amp
yes.
instead of a 10, or instead of a 15 amp? That way, it would be the wire that we'd use for running a baseboard heater.
Yeah.
That there, because that way you're
Be that little bit more.
Yes.
a little bit more, and it would probably put you in the opposite of the burn okay. And it would be a dedicated wire.
Yeah, but if it's dedicated to the gazebo, we usually need one at the back of the building though.
Oh, right.
That's where we do that kind of stuff. It won't be in the gazebo.
So maybe we have.
It'll be on,
upgrade.
have one in the. It'll be on the tables at the
Yeah.
back, so.
Right.
We need that one upped. Either that or go over to the garage, whatever we call that other building.
The hardware store.
Doesn't it have it has one on the side that they use for music.
the music.
Oh, then that one, yeah.
Can I say something
Yes.
before we decide to put it in it? The other problem with the candy floss machine using it at events is that unless you're really, really, really good at it, I was turning it on and off, and it was getting really clunky and upset. So it's best if it works, if it's operated by 2 people at once. It was also time consuming and it took staff away from other museum related activities. So my suggestion, there's 2 options. We can prep cotton candy and bulk the day before, in which case we could probably take it to the rink shack and just do it there, or use it to hardware store outlet or whatever outlet works. It doesn't need to be in a specific place. Pre-package it the day before, or we'd have to have 2 volunteers, or whether board members or not, we dedicate the time to learning how to use it and operate it on that day.
And there is an act to it, trust me.
I got relatively good at it. It was just going everywhere.
Except
and it was
that's
time
going
consuming.
downwind.
Yeah, for anybody that didn't see it, Jillian was covered in
I looked like
white
Halloween
cloth. She looked
decoration.
like a snowman.
It also just happened to be very windy that day. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can work it out. I'm sure. we
Yeah.
can.
So, yeah, certainly if it's going to get used, I would definitely suggest putting a cover on it because we
Yes.
lost so much sugar.
Will was gonna
just
look
doing
into the cover for us because we did budget for it.
that.
Yeah, that's right, where,
Yes.
But yeah,
He said he was ordering it this week. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not sure that, because of that, I'm not sure that it's worth putting in a dedicated outlet for this if it's not gonna get used while the event's running, if it's always gonna be pre-prepared, you know, just in terms of.
Well, we don't know that it always works.
Yeah.
Somebody might get a real knack at it.
Yeah.
When I'm buying, you know, if I'm going to do an event, I like to see it. That's part of the charm of it.
Yeah,
I don't want it, we would have some bag, but I like to see somebody using it.
It also doesn't last.
No, it doesn't. So I think we should still have a dedicated outlet for it.
especially if it's a hot sunny day. It will revert back to its sugar form.
That's right, yeah. Like for the fall, it would be perfect to have it under the gazebo, really, really.
I'd like to try my hand at it.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
There we go.
You have no idea what you just let yourself in for. I mean, it was fun, it was fun.
I think
It
Brenda
was
has a
just-
sugar tooth, so.
I do, and it's just one of those things I've always wanted to try to do.
Well, you can come by the museum anytime, we have leftover sugar from that, so you can practice whenever you want.
Okay, that sounds great.
I think Brenda thinks it might be like a pottery class, but it's not, Brenda.
Just have to let your inner Carney come out.
Yes,
Yeah, I think so.
in the meantime, we'll test I'll test different outlets and see what will end up working. In the meantime.
If I could add something to
Yes.
July 1st. I know we talked about selling candy over there, but now that soccer group has taken off so well, they have their own stuff to sell, like they had freezies and water and drinks like that. So I don't think we should be bringing anything over there. Just other than our museum exhibits, I think it's a good add-on while they're waiting for the fireworks. But they have their own. So I just wanted to add that in, and I'm not even sure that we should bring over the candy floss unless they want to borrow the machine themselves. That's just my. Is that it for July 1st?
Yep.
Anybody else have anything to add? Okay, we'll move on to summer activity planning. We'll start with Pie Day. How is that going, Julian?
So we've got approval for the event, provided that anyone baking pies that are going to be used at the event needs to, if they're baking at home, they need to have their water tested 1 to 2 weeks prior to baking, and the test has to come back negative for E. coli. So that's a free service through the health unit. It does take 2 to 3 days to get results. And as an alternative, I have booked the community center kitchen for Friday, July 15th, for anyone who would be interested in coming in. And so far, we have at least 2 folks who are wanting to use the community center kitchen.
Funny since you come in,
Did she?
you do it there as well, if you have people coming.
Okay. I will, can I call her and ask her what time she would like to come in?
Absolutely. You remember?
I think so. But I have it on the volunteer list.
So that is not this coming weekend, the following weekend. How many pies do we have?
So far, we've got 22 pies being offered for donation. Unfortunately, because of the health unit regulations, not as many volunteers have offered this year.
Do you plan on making pies here over 2 days also?
Um,
Or just the volunteers are coming in to make the pies?
I have a couple of volunteers coming in to make their specific pies.
Okay,
And then I have at least one person who said she'll come in and help bulk make pies.
Because she's not getting her water tested every week.
I'll come in and help with the bulk pie. It's all here.
I
great.
figured it was easier to sit up here.
How
So
many pies are you trying to get?
Well, last year we had 69 pies. We sold X amount, I think, what, about half and half? I wasn't here again. It was great.
I didn't write down in this report how many were sold. I do remember there being some left over. I remember there was 26 pies worth of slices sold. And then there were about 28 maybe that were sold as whole pies.
Okay.
I calculated that if we had 52 pies, that would probably be
Enough.
enough. It wouldn't be, we'd probably run out maybe earlier than the end of the day. But I think it would still be.
Well, that's 3 more for you here.
Do you? Lovely.
But some of them, the lady is in the midst of 2 operations, major operations, and I'm not even asking her because she would try to do it.
Oh, gosh.
And some I haven't got a hold of. I finally found out the one that we couldn't find, that
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing.
Okay.
You go to the phone book and you write down everybody's name and you start calling the same surname.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I got some maybes.
Okay.
Because somebody else has to be in Sudbury that morning, and if they could get it done the day before, because they have to be in Sudbury for medical reasons, so.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Just so for, if, let's say we're gonna make 35, and there's a few of us here.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
But for the supplies to make the pies.
Yes.
That would be coming out of. the
That's
museum
that's
budget.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can do that.
Yeah.
It's doable, because we can get the pre-made shells and we
Yeah.
get everything we need and do it assembly. Take a few hours.
Yeah.
I think that might be.
In saying that, I noticed that $6 per slice was put in the newsletter. And I also noticed that in the Almaquo News, prices have gone up dramatically. I'm going to consider it a typo. I think we should be, this is my opinion, I think we should be charging $8 per slice and $15 per whole pie.
We haven't put the price of the whole pie in there because we've got
So-
a wide variety of sizes. and
Yes.
price them for size.
I'd say, why don't we leave it at $6 for this year and consider a change for next year? And then maybe change up the whole pie thing this year. Just saying, because we've already sent it out,
We've already sent it, yes.
you know.
Guys,
And if you're getting $6 a slice and you get 6 slices of pie, that's 36 versus 15 for a whole pie. Seems like you're making some money on that.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it at 6 then.
Big money.
But you put us down for 4 pies, Julian.
thank you.
JH Farms will do it.
Are you keeping track of which kinds of pies people are eating?
When people are letting me know, yes.
And then, yeah, because then we'll do.
Because then when we make them, we can make different than what's being, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
There is another regulation, and it probably, and I just let everyone know, but just in case it matters if anyone else is considering donating pie. Anything with eggs, like a custard, it has to be made in a commercial kitchen. It can't be made at home.
You've let everybody know that.
Let you guys-
Sorry, Jillian, you were cutting out there. What were you saying about the pie shells?
And on the pie shells, it's if someone's making a custard filling, they have to do it in a commercial kitchen. They can't do it in their home.
Oh.
Pies are being donated.
With the eggs, we had to-
Eggs have to be graded from a grocery store. Dairy has to be pasteurized. I think they prefer it from a grocery store.
Can't just go get it from the chickens who won't milk the cow.
You got a ice bill, it's $1 a dozen. You can get your own eggs graded.
He's not driving us.
For the
It
grading
doesn't
station.
cost $1 by the time you get home.
I do know that people like homegrown eggs better than store bought.
Yep.
Of course they do.
Fresher.
Wow. They're getting very strict. I'll be honest, I'd really like to know what the rate of waterborne illnesses are in Nipissing.
I would hazard a guess around the 0 mark. But that's
Well, why
just-
is that question?
That would be mine also. I think this is much ado about nothing. I know they're trying to keep everyone safe. I totally get it, but it's getting out of line, I think, but that's my opinion.
Other than my water has no bromine or fluoride in it.
Yeah,
For sure.
I know my water has arsenic in it, so. Hey, but it will.
Mine has iron.
We all have iron.
Yes.
That's the nature of where we live.
Oh, I know.
But it's good for you, it's soluble iron, so it's all good.
As long as it's not too bad.
Are we serving ice cream or Cool Whip or something like that with the,
I have Nora's instructions from the previous years, and they said 2 4-liter tubs of vanilla ice cream and 3 tubs of Cool Whip.
we have room in the freezer for 2 4-liter tubs of ice cream.
We got some extra unopened frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
If we had to store it off-site, could we store it at the township office?
Just give me some notice because we have some stuff in there.
So you've got her notes, that say vases, tablecloths, flowers, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
she came in this afternoon.
Okay,
Went through all that.
great.
So I'm wondering where the board would like the tents. Because in previous years, it has been on the front lawn. If we're encouraging people to park closer to the Heritage Park, so that it's not as much on the road. We'll still have our parking lot open for the museum, but encouraging more people to park at the Heritage Park, so it's not flowing. Then the tents behind the museum would make more sense.
I'll like talk to you about this, right? You know how I feel.
I would like to know how everyone else.
Yes,
feels.
I'll give you my opinion. The tent should be in the front. We get a lot of drive-bys. They see that there's festivities and there's activity going on there. People drop in. That's my opinion.
And you've got a long way to go to carry all those pie pieces. of
That's
rice
right.
in that.
You've got to go all the way to the front door and all the way around the side. There's
That's
possibility.
not gonna work unless you take out one of those windows in the kitchen, but it
Yeah,
usually.
that's true,
yeah.
And make it a door.
No, I think out the front makes more
Yeah,
sense, just because people will stop, just because they
They see something
they
going
see
on.
something going on, they're gonna stop.
Yeah.
If it's out behind, it's not gonna be as visible.
And if they stop and they say, and if they say it's homemade, there's a chance they'll buy it.
So we're going to put out the orange cones along the highway. Sorry, we can't have everybody parking on both sides of the highway.
Most people don't park there. Most people go to the side of the road. We do have some in the front. 85-year-olds, yes, we have them in the front. They have,
There's parking. lot,
yeah,
too.
well, that'll get filled up pretty quick with volunteers. Well, they can park at the front.
No, they can park over at the park.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? The edge of the highway?
They don't want anybody parking on the highway.
Who's they?
Office.
Okay.
Office,
Safety.
fire department,
Yeah.
safety, everybody, yeah. Because when they park them.
No, I wondered if it was MTO.
We haven't heard from NTO.
Good thing you weren't there for the motorcycles.
At least they're small, like there's.
And how many motorcycles were here? Well, we've been in the 70s with them here.
Yeah.
It's all right. They just stopped to put them all over the road. It doesn't matter.
Well, they lined up very nicely on the edge of
That's
the
the way they
road.
do.
Anyway. Also, we have a musician who volunteered to provide some live music for Pie Fest.
Who's that?
Gwen Dunlop is who's newer to the area. She plays violin, she's classically trained, but also does some sort of Celtic style music.
Lovely.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
so she's offered to do
Did she
that.
sing?
Pardon?
Did she sing as well?
She didn't mention it. I just didn't ask.
It'll be a surprise.
Well,
She might.
I do like Celtic music, you know.
Are you good? Yeah. Are you gonna have all the
usually
info
mechanic,
on,
so.
on Facebook page?
Yeah.
So we can share it, and I'll share it. And I think I told you the church is called to make sure we could accommodate them. They're gonna come over.
the event is 10 anyway,
Yes, so
so
they'll be fine.
I think Nora told me something like 10:45 or something.
She told me I thought 10:15, 10:15.
Okay,
so,
10:15,
yeah.
yeah.
And do you have enough volunteers for the day?
I have a sign up sheet for everybody. So I have 2 volunteers for Pie Fest, Ellen Barber and Nora Jackson. So I've also got
We do have the volunteer list so there, right?
I have contacted most people. I contacted everyone on that list that this is a few weeks ago. I can recontact them. Some folks I heard back they're not available this summer, or they're not available for that day. Some I haven't heard back from at all.
How many do you usually have in the kitchen, Mary?
I was thinking 3.
Really?
How many at the drink section, coffee and tea? And how many servers? About 4, right?
Maybe 4, right?
Somebody take one.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3 dishes and still serve them on the end counter, right? With fire on the end counter in the kitchen.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you're looking at 4 in there.
Or in the
Some sort.
kitchen?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you need at least
Yeah.
9 volunteers.
For sure, because I know the years I've done it, we needed at least, 4 in the kitchen for sure. I agree with Mary, and because you get anything more and it's way too tight.
We've also had them at manning the hardware, all of the buildings, so that the students can do what they need to do, and you can do what you need to do, so you need another 3 on top of that.
I seem to remember Pie Fest 2019 ended up not having the meeting until another class.
Well, that was, we were still kind of COVID, like, were we not?
2019,
No.
no, before COVID.
Oh, really? Have we done that? Not had the museum open?
I'm not,
I
I
don't
can't
remember.
remember exactly.
I don't ever remember.
Either it was closed or I was in church.
Yeah, you
Because
were
I don't
probably in the
remember the
church.
rest of.
We've always
the
had
event.
it open.
I'm pretty sure it's always.
Yeah.
But I think we had the hardware, we had the hardware store closed because we didn't have that staff for that.
Yeah, Steve, you know,
But
you're always
if we
sitting in
get
the front of
volunteers,
it,
we don't-
volunteering.
We need to have
What's that?
volunteers.
You're always sitting in the front of the hardware store volunteering, are you not? On our special events, you're watching one of the buildings
I did it last year at the hardware store. Yeah.
for Pie Fest.
Anyway,
I didn't do it. Was it
we didn't
here?
have Pie Fest
We haven't
last
had
year.
Pie Fest
Okay,
for-
that's
We
right.
haven't had Pie Fest for, this will be the 3rd year.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a sign up sheet, so wherever you are able to write your name in, I will have, like, staff will fill in the gaps as best we can. I'll call people that didn't get back to me and see if they're willing. But
Well, you're gonna need at least 10 people, so.
yeah,
You
So-
can't do it without-
Are there no students that need their volunteer hours that we can recruit?
Brenda, that doesn't work.
It used
Oh,
to,
yeah,
be all of our students that volunteered, they have grown up and they don't do that
That's
anymore.
right.
Yeah,
They all have parents that,
We used to
Get
have,
their
we used to have
forms
kids
on.
that did that.
Yeah.
Very willingly.
there's also Heritage Day is also on that sheet. So, if you know where
and
available.
my grandsons and granddaughters all had their hours still up in their first, 3rd place.
yeah, when it first came out, it was very popular and then
Yeah.
it fizzled out. People found ways to get around it. Okay, so sounds like you're set, you know, the supplies you need to buy, coffee, tea, creamer, that kind of stuff.
yeah, Nora and I are in the
I
kitchen.
just put my name at the bottom and putting wherever.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a wherever too, but Nora and I usually end up in the dishes.
So I guess I'll be serving it.
Oh, you can take over one of the tours if you want instead.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have one of the staff doing the cash, and then one of them can either help with serving or can take over tours. Just depending on where volunteers would prefer to be.
I think the little tickets to give them what they want to. Do we have lots of lemonade? That sometimes goes over good with the coffee and the tea.
I think we're going, I haven't known how much to buy.
Okay, good. All right, you got all that. All right.
So I was thinking picking those up, probably the ones that are Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
You make a list of everything you need when we go and get the supplies, to make the pies.
Okay, do
Let's do it all at once.
Yes,
And
that's a
I'll
good
go
idea.
to, and that way we can use the municipal credit card,
Okay.
and that way it's all looked after.
Okay, any other conversations for Pi Day? Okay, so we have the Heritage Day then.
So slight change from, I think, the last meeting, the recreation committee is no longer hosting their movie night on August, just sort of mentioned, but the meetings at the candy store and the museum will only remain open until 7 p.m. instead of 8:30 as originally planned, just because that's when our events are wrapping up. But we've got some music. Gary and Renee White will be here 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Providing live music. Donation request letters have been sent out for Heritage Day and sort of generally for events. And we have already received our first donation. We'll be doing some follow-up calls probably the first week of August or the week before that.
I would do the follow-up calls sooner. You sent the letters, now the reminder calls. I think I mentioned before that a lot of businesses have a limit to how much they can volunteer. Donate, so I would do them soon. And then we can start putting some of the silent auction pictures of what we're going to have on Facebook page or whatever. That's just my opinion, if anybody else wants to add to that. And did we get the band at a reasonable rate?
So both the band for Heritage Day and the band for the Fall Festival will play for 3 hours for $300.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
What type?
When is?
August 1. So that's all I have for Heritage Days.
We can talk about the, at our first meeting in August about where we're getting our supplies, our meat, our condiments, stuff like that. All the supplies, there should be a list there. Jillian, of what we've had in the past. Again, wouldn't hurt to ask some of the businesses if they would like to donate some of that stuff.
It was all sort of within that letter. Okay, the Fall Festival and Market. So I confirmed with Bob Bartlett, and he'll be doing a demo from about 11:30 to about 3:30, depending on traffic. So the vendor application has been posted on the Township website. And I will post about that on Facebook as well soon. We've already had 2 vendors say they would like to participate. And the J. Houston Band will be providing live music from about 12 to about 3.
Perfect. We did say that we were offering the tables for free, right?
It was, people had to bring their own.
But they had to bring their own table,
Had to
yes.
bring their own.
But we weren't charging them a fee.
No.
Okay, so that's the difficulty. We ran in with the recreation committee last night because when I told them we were having our fall face, I said our fall fair, I said they could add the trunk sale if they want to do the trunk sale. I thought trunk sale meant used goods, but they also have on here can sell craft and used items. And they're charging $10 a table and they're going to be in the park. So there was a little controversy over that last night, but we've already said we would offer the sites for free. So I think we have to go with that.
Okay.
I did ask them to, this was just a sample of the flyer, but they were going to also add the movie night on here, and I said, well, why wouldn't you? We're having ours on the same day, put all three on the flyer, so they said they would, so.
Was that the proposed flyer there?
No, that was just there's lots of mistakes on here. That was just a rough idea.
We also we have our own posters and all our events are on
Okay,
those as well.
What date is that?
September 10th, the Saturday,
September 10th.
the Saturday after Labor Day.
What kind of vendors have we got so far?
So far, we'll have with baking jams and things like that.
Yeah.
And then someone who makes their little tree decorations with wire and small rocks.
Okay.
That's it so far.
Are we only looking for homemade stuff?
We said local, we just left it.
I do ask, I'm just wondering, I thought it was we'll see how many vendors we have. If we don't have a lot, I do have a large collection of vintage jewelry that I'm going to put for sale, so I could just put a table and put it on, whether it sells or not, I don't really care, but at least it's something out there.
You may have a competition on September the 10th. I don't know what fall fairs are on that day.
Yeah,
Well, South Rivers,
yeah.
the only one. Lawson's the weekend before, so Sunridge is the weekend after, Sharp Creek is 2 weekends before.
I think we're in good shape.
So it's
It's
just-
not so bad.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing was advertising. So posters and brochures have been distributed to businesses in Nipissing and a few places in North Bay. If anyone is able and willing to distribute posters and brochures in their own area, you can take some and distribute them, and that would be lovely. I would very much appreciate it.
Did we get any up to the park, the Bristol Provincial Park?
Not yet. You said you might be able to take some of that.
That would be a good place, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because last year, I know it was Heritage Days. There was a group of people that told me that they seen that at the park where I had put it in the thing. That was why they were there.
And I think that they has put up their flyers too. Heather probably put it up in the post office.
It's just like.
Yeah, so whatever you need me to take in, however, any pieces that I can drop off at
We'll have our.
Jerry's, No Bay, post office, and the park. And maybe in that box now.
Yeah, exactly. I could give one to Tom Marchant. He could take it into command the post office, and I'll take one for our post office too.
Perfect. So, yeah, take
And
however many you think you need for
that
however
little
far you
store,
like
whatever
to
it is
go.
at the end of.
Well, how many, like, are these for people to pick up? and get with them?
Yeah, museum.
So- Yeah, so the posters and
July
and the
1st.
brochures, whatever you think.
Oh, no,
people will
not the
display.
museum, the little store.
Yeah.
that's at the
You can
corner.
always print them out if necessary.
522
Okay,
and
well, I'd
524.
probably
Yeah.
four.
So, no, they just, they're shut down.
One for
They shut down,
Heather,
shut down.
one for
Yeah, I thought.
I haven't been that way for a
Marty,
while.
Oh, yeah,
one
that's.
for Matt, and one for the park.
Okay.
Did it open? Did it reopen?
One inside.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
One near.
It was open for a while back, but I
So,
haven't
I
been
don't
that
know,
way.
we might want
I
to
could-
Well, I'll
keep
talk
in
to
case.
them there. I know enough people who work at the park.
Okay.
Okay.
So is there any more that we want to discuss on the fall festival right now? Yeah, it's still early.
So when do you want these posters up? Because if you're talking about like a fall festival, there's no point in that now.
No,
Well, no, they have all of the events on the poster.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so they'd only be distributed once,
okay.
and then they can stay up. And then if there are areas where you can put up a poster and a couple of brochures, the brochures also have our events.
so we talked about music already. We talked about advertising. Is there anything further you had to add to either of those or anybody else?
One thing with advertising, start advertising Facebook too, is I think we should be creating event pages on our Facebook page, whether it's the township page, the museum page, with the events tab, you can have all the running.
It's on the Google it.
We're going to try and develop a new museum Facebook page on the same night as the township page, so that we're not running into that great problem.
Right.
And then we'll expand. We were talking about that earlier today.
I noticed that some museums have web pages, too, their own web pages. Is that a possibility for us?
Section on the Nipissing website page.
Yeah. I mean, you could, like I mean, calendar, when you Google them, their own museum comes up and inside they've got tons and tons of
Or
info.
we can always add more to, we can ask to add more to what's on the township website.
Okay. And if we have enough on there. Okay. Anything else on Facebook or advertising? New business, the only thing I have really to report is that, you hear the Carlin's hut roof was replaced, and it was just in time. Like waited another year, we would have had to replace wood and everything else, so. Does anybody else have any new business?
I do have one more thing that it might be worth considering in view of trying to develop sort of ongoing museum policies. It might be worth considering maybe a new fundraising model for the museum. This just based on the trouble we've had with Pie Fest. Instead of having a model where we're asking the community to donate stuff that we're then selling back to them, if we could try and figure out a difference.
One of my suggestions would be maybe to go back to the strawberry social. We could buy the baskets of strawberries, and the only thing that would have to be baked here is the cake. Everything else, then we put the berries on the cake and everything. I would suggest we do that. We go back to that. It always went over really well.
And then we don't have to worry about all the.
That's right.
Rules and
I would say that
regulations.
this would be the last year for Pie Fest. That would be my suggestion. Definitely.
And it was also sort of more of a, not just specifically for Pie Fest, but just in general, more things like maybe workshops or things, people pay to participate in something like that, just so that we're not as heavily reliant on, I think, like the ability and willingness of the community to do something specific on a specific day.
You know, in the good old days, we used to have people come in and speak in the evenings, like historians or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you get into that kind of thing, you might get somebody out of their house.
I think that's a really good idea. I see that the library in Powassan did that in the month of June, and they had different topics and different speakers for each topic. So I think if we could get like a historian or, different, even relatable things in Nipissing, whether it's fishing or hunting or whatever too.
Well, we are having Jeff Fernier for our Heritage Day, so he is a local historian. We talked about the dams, and I meant to ask you, Jillian, did we get anything decided on the banner?
He had mentioned that he was gonna stop by and I haven't seen him, so I
Okay.
haven't had a chance to talk to him more about that.
Who is he?
Jeff Fernier. He used to work for OPG, and he was in charge of the dams down there at the river. He was also instrumental in helping us get $1,000 grants from Ontario Hydro.
Not recently.
No, he's
No.
retired now, so we haven't had any.
We haven't had any grants from OPG for a few years.
Yeah,
That was when we had all those nice
Yes.
pamphlets.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a whole pile of that. I was going to do something with them. Maybe I'll just hold on to them then.
Could we develop another contact at OPG?
It's more just the grant stream kind of
Yeah.
isn't there anymore.
Oh, I see. That's too bad.
Yeah, $1,000 was $1,000. So. Okay. it for me. Does anybody else have anything they need to add tonight?
One more thing.
Okay,
So just going back to collections, sorry, I made a note at the end of my report instead of in the collection section. So given that the board is deciding on each and every item that is donated to the museum, when we're deaccessioning or coming across things that we want to deaccession, all those items should be brought to the board.
yes.
And we were wondering, so in order to deaccession items properly and dispose of them, usually it's recommended that museums offer them up for auction. So it would be okay if the plan is for those items that are decided by the board that they're going to deaccession, that they put in the silent, collected and put in the silent auction for the next year. If people want, if people
see
decide to
nothing wrong
purchase
with
them.
that. We decided they were going to the session. What do you think, Mary?
Probably not, because the stuff you are going to deaccession is not going to be anything that stands out like a sore thumb.
No. And if they're donations, then they belong to us, so we can't do what we like with them.
Yeah.
Well, we're not, museums generally are allowed to return them to the original giver.
That's right.
You are not allowed to,
Return, you can't just give the item back to the original giver.
not if they donated them
No. not
and
if
got
they-
any benefit from it.
No.
If they didn't get any benefit from it, you can't.
That
I'm
makes
gonna have
sense.
to look up my manual, because for some reason, I seem to remember it being more of a,
Yeah, that if it's donated, you don't get it back.
yeah,
Yes.
whether you get a tax receipt or not.
We don't give tax receipts. for-
I know we don't, but I can go back to,
That's why you want to get rid of everything that's on loan too.
I think that was already done. I seem to remember in 2019, Cheryl went through and she called everyone and everything that had been on loan was either returned or it was donated outright.
I would disagree with you.
Uh-oh.
You would know.
Okay.
I don't know that that might have been done, but it wasn't physically done.
Okay. All right.
What do you mean physically done?
Mhm.
What do you mean physically done? Because the forms came through the office.
They may
I
have
saw a lot.
decided and they may have said they were going to do it, but did everybody get offered the thing back? The item back?
That was my understanding. It sounds like that's not the case.
No, I can guarantee you that one.
Okay.
On one of them anyway.
I feel like you have something on one.
What did you loan the museum, Mary?
One of those 3 typewriters
That's right.
in the office.
Oh, okay.
Are you sure the paperwork is there for it?
Mhm.
I've got mine.
Okay,
But
that's all that matters. I guess.
no. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not making a big deal because it was mine. I'm just wondering if it was actually done.
No, I understand.
Were the people contacted and did they say yes or no?
I mean,
And
I
rec-
wasn't the one who did it. so
Yeah,
I'm
and
not sure
records of
exactly
deeds.
how
There'll be
it
a
went.
record someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There should be records of the things we got back, so we'll just compare.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
make a new list and we'll start from.
Yeah.
Just another
yeah,
thing for your to-do list.
You weren't busy enough apparently.
Well, I'm glad I asked. At least now I know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, finally done. No more questions.
Okay, everybody done? Okay, we will end. At 8:08. We have a mover and a seconder to end the meeting. Gladys?
Okay.
Put our hands up beyond the dawn,
Yeah.
right?
I'll second that.
Gladys and Steve.
Okay, Roger.
Our next meeting is going to be,
August 3rd.
so Wednesday,
August the 3rd.
Okay.
I can tell you right now, I probably won't be attending. It's my birthday.
Oh, well, are we invited to the party? A lovely gazebo?
Brenda,
Yeah, maybe.
Brenda, are you sure it's that date?
Mary, that's
Exactly.
so bad. Yes, I'm absolutely sure on this one.
So the next meeting's at Brenda's, is that?
Yeah, what about
decided?
that beautiful gazebo? Can't we just meet there?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I know my birthday, guys. Okay.
Bachelor party.
I'm supposed to go home, I don't have to drive all the way across the township.
Right.
No, she informed us that you and I, when we